Hey, Magic fans, welcome back. This is your captain speaking here on Captain Clyde's MTG, and we're back today. We're going to go over the top 10 standard cards from Dominaria United. As you guys know, there's going to be a rotation when Dominaria United comes out, which is going to change the entire standard format. And there are powerful cards in Dominaria United that I think are going to shape that new standard. And today, I'm here to give you my top 10 of what they are. So, as always, don't forget to subscribe. I appreciate all the help and the views, and I hope you can agree with me. And if you don't, well, you're probably right because I'm a moron. But anyway, moving right along. First off, let's start with an honorable mention. We have the Phyrexian. They're not Praetors. You know, every one of these is different, but they are Phyrexians. And basically, every one of these has the ability to give you um, the ability to cast your permanent spells using Phyrexian mana instead of colored mana once these are on the board. As you can see, they're all very powerful. They're all very good. Um, I think out of all these, the reason they're only honorable mentions is because having one or two of these, or having two of these on the same battlefield, isn't going to do a whole lot for you. I mean, they are powerful creatures. They are 4 to 5 mana apiece. Um, but at the end of the day, removal spells are cheap, and these don't have any way to protect themselves per se. Um, but things to think about as far as power goes, this is 5 for a 6/6, which may seem really good. But +1/+1 counter on each creature control ain't good if the creatures die. This one damage to any target. The best thing it's got going for it, it's 4 for a 4/4 at first strike. This one's 4 mana for Menace. You know, +1/+1 against Menace to end of turn. That's almost a non-starter because it goes away, but it's still a 4 mana 4/4. The white one, you know, Vigi creates 1/1 soldier tokens. Not all that great either, but it's 5 for 5. The blue one is probably, in my personal opinion, one of the best, but also the easiest to kill. They're all very balanced that way. If you cast a blue permanent, you get to draw a card. That is insane. And it's a 4/3 flyer for 5. So, again, honorable mentions. I don't think these are going to overtake the format, but they will definitely see some play as some serious powerhouse cards to shape the format in whatever color they're in. So, without further ado, let's go on to number 10. And number 10, that's right, everybody. There's 5 of them because I couldn't pick which Lord was better, but the Lords are a big part of the Dominaria United format. And you'll see here we got Goblin Lord, Cleric Lord, Merfolk, Soldiers, and Elves. Uh, this is crazy as far as how many Lords there are. The one probably has the least amount of ability, maybe the Cleric one in black, but the ability to search up, you know, creatures and black cards and sacrifice, like all these have their thing that they're going to do that's going to make them amazing. Not just in the current standard format, but probably older formats too. But in standard, due to the lack of card power, well, soon to be very powerful. But anyway, because of the cards you can search and what have you, unlike the older formats that have a wider berth, these are probably only going to be number 10. They do have one thing going for it, which actually took them off the honorable mention list, which is none of them are legendary, so you can stack them on top of each other. So I think these will be part of every color to some degree. But again, by playing these, it limits you to a creature type, so that may not be the best thing you want to happen. So moving on. Next we have number 9. That's right, the Shivan Devastator. I know a lot of people are just kind of saying this is a kind of a blah blah kind of card, but I'm gonna be honest with you. If you guys don't remember Mistcutter Hydra, like the rest of us boys from the old school do back from Theros, that was a green and X like this. Came in with XX counters. Uh, it was protection from blue and it had haste. This isn't protection from blue. It's still killable, so is Mistcutter. But this has flying, which is a better form of evasion. Plus, it's a dragon, it's a Hydra. Not only is it going to be really great in standard, it's going to also see some plays in older formats too. But just the fact that this is basically a fireball, it doesn't go away, can just win you the game on the spot. I mean, think about it. It's turn 7, you have 7 lands in play, your opponent's at 7, or your opponent's at even 14. You know, you can lay this and make a, or say he's at 12, right? You lay this as a 6/6 flyer. You punch him once, he got one turn to draw. If you're both empty, he's got one shot at it. I just think that the haste and the flying, plus the fact that this thing could just gets bigger the later the game goes on, is going to make this a powerhouse in the new standard format. Next we have number 8, we have Karn Silex. So 3 colorless legendary artifact, enters the battlefield tap. So this prevents what we talk about the honorable mention cards, where people can't cast spells by paying life. So it can shut down whole decks, honestly. Plus the ability for X and tapping it to destroy each non-land permanent with mana cost X or less and activate only as a sorcery is just insane. It's almost like Nevernearl's Disc, but it's 1 cheaper. Um, but it takes mana to activate. I think this is going to be a big powerhouse. If people don't start this card, people are going to sideboard this card. It's going to be big. It's going to be awesome. And I think it's going to be in every standard deck in some way, shape, or form to some degree, especially control decks. All right, next, moving on, we have number 7, Guardian of New Dominaria, a white and 1 for a 2/2 with Enlist. The Enlist part is pretty good for this. You can make this big enough to kill anything without having to swing with everything. But the main thing for me is, as big as you make this, it has the ability down here, you can discard a card to gain indestructible and tap it. So you can attack with it and tap it, and then when someone blocks, give it indestructible by discarding a card. So there's that. And it says here, whenever the Guardian of Dominaria enlists a creature you scry to, so literally you want to enlist your 1/1 token onto this every turn so you can scry to. I mean, that's almost like stacking your deck every turn. Plus the fact that you could discard a card, you can literally put a land on top so you can discard it so you can keep enlisting every turn. And this with other white cards like the Hound, I forget from oh gosh, I think it's from Neon Dynasty. I can't remember anymore. But it's a doggy. It comes in. It's a 1/1. You draw a card. I mean, it's just insane. This has so much potential for the human soldier deck. Plus, it's a soldier, so it pops up with Lord. There's a lot of potential here. This probably should be higher on the list, but I just think the other cards are better. So as we move on, next we have number 6, the Anointed Peacekeeper. Here's another card that goes great with the Benelish guy. A white and 2 for a 3/3 with Vigi. When it enters the battlefield, you look at opponent's hand and choose a card name. Those spells cost 2 more. And that targets all the spells. So that's amazing. Plus, it's a 3/3 for 3. Yeah, it doesn't fly, like the old one, like the other one that was a 3/1, but this is just as good, maybe better because it has Vigilance. And the ability to hit multiple cards at one time and not just one. So, moving on. Next, we have the Urborg Loigoith. So, some of you guys are probably thinking, because I know as I've had this conversation with some of my friends about how this is not a better Loigoith than your normal Loigoith. You know what? You're right. This isn't better. It's way better. And here's why. It's the same casting cost, the same starting effect. It has the ability, you can mill yourself. Let's say you do black-green, right? You can mill yourself to make sure it gets bigger. But here's the thing. Its power is equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. You don't have to make this really wide-spanning tribal deck like you do in Modern. Matter of fact, this might replace the Modern decks depending on how they're built. The Modern deck still needs sorceries, instants, planeswalkers, all that stuff, right? But just imagine if you're playing a green deck and there's, 3 different card types in your graveyard, but 7 creatures. Would you want the normal Loigoith, which is 3/4? Or do you want this one, which is going to be 7/8? Like, this is going to have tons of impact inside the gaming environment. In Standard, it's going to be a mainstay and probably even better than this. And we'll talk later about another video about how I think this is going to take over Modern. But next, let's talk about number 4. That's right, Stronghold Arena, black and 1 for an enchantment. Kicker for green-white. If you kick it, you get 3 life each time you kick it. So the big thing about this is a 2-mana enchantment with a 1 black starter. That whenever one or more of your creatures you control deals combat damage to a player, you can reveal the top card of your library and then put it in your hand, but you lose life equal to its value. Basically, this thing is saying, if you hit your opponent, you get to activate what's that card's name? Dark Confidant. That's what it is. Yeah, you get to activate a Dark Confidant. Now, normally Dark Confidant does it every turn, so forth and so on. Enchantments are harder to kill. And yes, you do have to hit them, but in a low to the ground black aggro deck, all you want to do is just mill through your deck and put cards in your hand. You don't care how much life you're paying. And I think this is going to be a big mainstay in standard in any kind of black deck that has an aggro aspect to it, or any kind of aggro deck that has black splashed in it. Because who doesn't want to draw cards left and right? All right, next move on. We got number 3. That's right, Shield Red, the Apocalypse. So 2 black and 4 for a 4/5 with Death Touch is already great. It says whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. Whenever an opponent draws a card, you lose 2 life. Not only is this a great card, but it keeps you alive while killing your opponent. You literally can just play this card and then just sit back and chill and wait for your opponent to draw 10 cards. Uh, and you'll be gaining 2 life, so you don't have to block every time. And if you're playing black, you've got removal to keep the most dangerous things off the board, and maybe even some green or what have you to protect this thing, like protect the queen ability, and just draw them out as they lose life and you gain life. I think it's going to be a very powerful deck style that somebody's going to build, if not me. But anyway, so that's why I rated this at number 3. Next, moving on, we have number 2. That's right, Liliana of the Veil. My girl made it to number 2. I mean, what more can you say? 2 black and 1. Each player discards a card. Target player sacrifices a creature. And then the Poe separate all permanents in 2 sides. So if you're playing Shieldred and you have this, you can just tick up, make them discard cards that are drawn and paying life for. Meantime, you start sacrificing creatures. Make them sacrifice their creatures. It's removal over and over. This is going to be a very powerful 3-mana Planeswalker to no end, and it's going to see play. It's just too good. Now, with that said, maybe ask yourself, but Captain, if you talk so highly of Liliana and how it's your girl, how is this number 2? What would you say is number 1? Well, oddly enough, this is number 1 right here. So, let's just take a look at this. The Sarah Paragon, 2 white and 2 for a 3/4 flyer. You may think to yourself, well, that's not all that special. Well, it's really not, except for its ability. It says, once during each of your turns, you may play a land card from your graveyard or cast a permanent spell with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. If you do, it gains when this permanent is put into the graveyard from your battlefield, exile it, and gain 2 life. This is an amazing creature because A, it's a flyer, B, it's only 4 mana, C, it lets you get all the good cards out of your graveyard all over again. Like, for example, if you're playing black-white, let's see. This is 3 mana. Let's see. That's 4, so unfortunately can't get that back. This is 2 mana. This is less than 3. This is 3 or less. This is 3 or less. This is 3 or less. Although it exiles itself, but let's say they destroy it before you get a chance to use it. You get a chance to cast it again. Technically, you could cast this for 2. I mean, if you're really feeling froggy. Plus, not to mention, all the lords are 2s. All of them. Every one of them. So that's why I think this is going to be a mainstay in most decks. And those are just the powerhouse cards. There's other stuff and other shenanigans you can get down with this card. So let's not even try to go there. So that's my top 10, everybody, along with some honorable mentions. Tell me what you think in the comments down below. The more you talk, the more the channel gets views, and the more I appreciate it. And remember, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. 1 click to subscribe for you don't mean much, but it means a lot for the channel as we try to get to 1,000 subscribers. Come on, give me a hand. And for all of you who are supporting, thank you very much. For those of you who want to do a little more and you already are subscribed, check out links in the description to the eBay store where I'll be selling all the cards from Dominaria in the box opening series. Along with, there's a Patreon so you can get free swag, discounts in the eBay store, and cool product discounts. Also, there is an email. Feel free to reach out and say, hey, or just ask me to talk about something in case you have some questions. So, without further ado, until next time, be kind. And as always, I hope to see you across from the game table.